If they running their mouth, then they looking for trouble. Ran right up in the knowledge, now they back in the huddle. See, they know we can fight, new content every week. Me and Dr. Clyde, keep on bringing the heat. Now they know that we driven, and they know we quitting. Yoshi and the winner, keep on bringing the energy. Unity. See, they know we ain't stopping, and they know they got problems, and they ran out of options. If they know got a problem, can't let it go unsolved. Brain based learner, Afrocentric history, we see tomorrow. Karma is karma, I say what I say, I hear underwater. Till I see I fall off, then I bring y'all up on note. I'm back up on my Clyde winners, 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 Divine Winters, Clyde Winters, Mind Bender, Clyde Winters, I'm Richard, Brian Richard, Master Teacher, Create Masters, Clyde Winters, give respect to the elder, Clyde Winters. Somebody else that living for me. I told you somebody else that living for me. I think there's somebody else that living for me. I think there's somebody else that living for me.
We have to live by God. We have to live by God. I have not done wrong. I have not robbed. I have not stolen. I have not drank. I have not told lies. I have not stolen food. I was not stolen. I have not fornicated with the fornicator. I have not caused anyone to weep. I have not dissembled. I have not transgressed. I have not discussed secrets. I have brought no lawsuits. I am not wrong. I am not struck dead. I am not transgressed the law. I have not been hunted. Except when I'm talking about on the song. I have not made extolling. I have not bragged. I have not cursed. I have not been violent. I have not confounded truth. I have not been impatient. I have not cursed again.
Dr. Winter's legacy is a testament to the power of knowledge and the unyielding spirit of exploration. His impact is felt worldwide, as he shares and enlightens at conferences, symposiums, and collaborative projects. His voice is a beacon in the academic world, challenging, inspiring, and always educating. His journey reminds us that the quest for knowledge is never-ending, and its impact is timeless. Dr. Winters teaches us to challenge the narratives and to learn with an open mind. As he always says, B1 is not a group, it's a lineage. Let his story inspire everybody to pursue knowledge relentlessly and to always seek the truth. Now let us welcome in the grandfather of research, the Trill OG himself, the Honorable Dr. Clyde Winter.
What up, though? What up, though? How you doing, family? Today is a very important day. Why is it important today? It's barbecue day. It's one of them days. It's one of them days that we prisoners of war have always been excited about. Not that we're excited about the fact that it's the birthday of the nation. How you doing, JP? We're excited about the fact that we got a day off from work. Yes. This is another day off from work. And we've always loved these days off. How you doing, Jaylene Prasad? What up, though? You know, I'm so excited. I'm so excited today because today, JP, other people, we got a lot of people here today, and hopefully, in a sense, some of you guys are sharing this with your family. So I'm going to make sure I don't cuss because I don't want any kids to get upset. But today is a very interesting day. You know, I have no problem. I have no problem with celebrating every. I have no problem celebrating every holiday that America has. And I'm going to tell you why. Because our ancestors, yes, our ancestors worked on those plantations. They worked from sun up to sundown. And when they got Christmas off or they got a day off, they went out and enjoyed it. And that's what I do. When it's a holiday, how you doing, Planet Wells? When it's a holiday, I just go, hey, sometimes I barbecue. Today I'm not barbecuing. No, I'm not barbecuing today because I'm going to go over my one of my son's houses, and he's barbecuing, so I'm going to go over there and get a free meal. Yes, yes, yes. I'm very excited about that because, since my wife died, I had to cook my own meals. And so, as you can know, this is a tedious affair. I don't even know how she did it. I don't know how she did it. How she could think of a different meal every day, for months on end, and cook good meals too. I'm not that good at cooking, and I'm kind of a lazy cook, so I try to get the cheapest stuff that I can find, or something I can do quick. Maybe boil a hot dog. You know, then and stuff like that. I might cook some cabbage every now and then because I like cabbage, and maybe try to cook a little cornbread, hot water cornbread. A lot of people have sent me some great recipes. How you doing, Miss M? A lot of people have sent me some great recipes, so I try to get that done too. But again, I'm very excited. I'm very excited today. And what I'm excited about is I'm excited about this whole process that's going on today in the nation. Yes, I'm proud to signify that I'm a foundational Black American. And I'm proud to say that I'm FBA because the fact, in a sense, is that for the first time in history, we've given ourselves our own identity, thanks to Tariq Nasheed and Claude Anderson. Claude Anderson was the first one to really recognize that we had to, in a sense, delineate ourselves as a unique people in the United States. He wanted us to call ourselves native Blacks. But again, in a sense, this wasn't an apropos name because we know the Native Americans, the Red Indians, have already adopted that, identification. So therefore, in a sense, Tariq Nasheed came up with the idea, why don't we call ourselves foundational Black Americans? By calling ourselves foundational, that's giving us that whole idea that we're native to these United States. And by identifying ourselves as Black, I love that. How you doing, Standing Bear? I love this whole idea in the sense of calling ourselves Black. Standing Bear says a complete obsession with skin color code, and everything talked about. You don't really understand. You don't really understand anything about what we're really doing. It's, when you're calling yourself Black, you're not necessarily, in a sense, color coding yourself. See, you haven't understood that we've had great researchers. For example, Dorvell. He's done a lot of good research. He made me have to go into back in the day, I was kind of a slight philologist. In other words, I used to study languages and things like that. But then I went into comparative linguistics because the fact, in a sense, is I like linguistics better than philology. But when we know, in a sense, that the word black, in a sense, has not always had a negative connotation. The word Black, in a sense, means illumination. It means burning. I mean, even when you look at this whole idea of coming true, what the Egyptians called themselves, they called themselves Black, and they based this name on a burning charcoal. Why a burning charcoal? This is what you have to understand. A burning charcoal, in a sense, is burnt, right? It's burning, but it turns black. But what does it also do? It provides illumination, because when you have a fire and you're around a fire, in a sense, what you're doing, you're illuminating that area of darkness. And see, that's what Black people are. Black people, in a sense, are people, in a sense, who provide illumination to the world. We're people, in a sense, who give out these strong vibrations of positivity, these strong vibrations of unity. How you doing, Dorvell? Greetings. Brilliant first. Of course. It was Dorvell who really did the research to show that black not only meant in a sense maybe a color, but it also had significance as the fact that it meant illumination, it meant bright, it meant all of these things. You see, I mean, haven't you always wondered why the comedians, they call themselves the black people? And and you could look at their statuettes, and you can see how they made sometimes they made various, they gave their pharaohs various colors, and the Egyptians made colors, some red, some black, things like that, varying colors, because of the fact, in the sense that we recognize that we are a diverse people, that we can range, in a sense, from a ruddy red pale all the way yellow and black to black and brown, and that's just that. So then black is a much more positive term, because black in a sense means brilliant. Black in a sense means illumination, that you are of those people who are illuminated. You are with those people who are what? With God Almighty. Because see, remember, B1, how you doing, Lester? Remember, the struggle continues. And what is the struggle? The struggle, in a sense, is understanding that you go through a process of what Dorvell calls it mental brilliance, He calls this mental brilliance because, see, that you accept that you're black and you're brilliant, then you create, in a sense, an atmosphere of brilliance, an atmosphere of illumination. So it's very important, in a sense, that you accept this thing. The reason I like black is that if you use black as an ethnic term, what makes it so good is that it provides, in a sense, a unity among melanated people. Because most of the time we're very disunified. Some of us, in a sense, are disunified based upon religious grounds. Other people disunified because of the fact, in a sense, that they had the brown paper bag contest, and so that they go through lightness or darkness. And so then, but when you use this generic term B1, black first, what you're doing, in a sense, is that you're cutting through all that garbage. When you say black first, you're no longer just a Choctaw, Cherokee, or Moor, or Hebrew, or a Protestant, or a Catholic. You see, how you doing, Roy Wooder from the Netherlands? What up, there? But see, the thing is that by saying you're B1, you're saying, in a sense, that you're black, and you're saying that you're brilliant, because that's what black means, brilliance. See, don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. If the Egyptians call themselves the black people coming true, then that should tell you, in a sense, that this is a very powerful word. And now we know, due to the researcher Dorvell, who went back and he did a lot of philology, and he began, in a sense, to look at what the word black meant in Old English and in Latin. Then we began to see, in a sense, that this, and even in Greek, even in the Greek language, he's been able, in a sense, to show that black is not just a term that's relative to a negativity, is more of a positivity. And one of the reasons for this is you have to understand. One of the reasons that the term black was never really seen as a negative term is because of the fact, in a sense, is that you got to remember. You got to remember, in a sense, that many of the European royals, kings, queens, princes, dukes, these people, in a sense, were very dark. And sometimes they identified themselves as black. For example, there was a whole number of kings over a 1,200 year period in Scotland that referred to themselves as the nigger kings, Niger, and they refer themselves as nigger because, see, nigger is the Latin word for black, and they be the black kings, you see. And because of the fact, in the sense, that many of the elites in Europe were black, they never thought of black as a negative term. Black became a derogatory term, slavery. How you doing, Todd? And that it became a derogatory term during slavery because the fact, in the sense, is that, the slavers had to find some way to, make themselves feel good about what they were doing because they were forcing these people on the plantation. You see, because they got so desperate. They got so desperate for people to work on those rice and mainly tobacco, later rice and sugar plantations, tobacco and sugar plantations, that they wanted to get anybody possible. And they wanted to find a way, in a sense, to make sure that they could have cheap labor costs. And they felt that the cheapest labor you could find would be, in a sense, a slave. Down the Portuguese and the Spanish, they would work their slaves to death. America was a little bit different. You usually, in a sense, could maybe work a good 4 or 5 years, and before you died, or sometime later, in a sense, they even went through a process of not even killing off all their slaves, because see, there was an ethnogenesis here in the United States, and it was this ethnogenesis. That really led to is this ethnogenesis that really led, in a sense, to us becoming who we are today. And this ethnogenesis that occurred in America was the result of Aboriginal blacks, Black Europeans, and sub-Saharan Africans all being chattel slaves. and as a result of being chattel slaves, we went through an ethnogenesis. And this ethnogenesis, was this integration, this mixture of 3 different groups of people from 3 different continents: the America, the Europe, the Black Irish, the African, the sub-Saharan Africans from throughout West Africa, who were sent over as slaves. Mainly not throughout West Africa. Most North American slaves, in a sense, came from the Senegambia. The only Bantus, they mainly came down to maybe New Orleans, and maybe the French imported Bantu, but most of our since our Senegambian. That's why whenever they show you that you're related to a Yoruba or a Hausa, that's bullshit. Yeah, no. That's all cap. Because the fact is, this is that they didn't really go and get a lot of slaves from down there. But again, in a sense, is that we went through this ethnogenesis, and that's what makes us a unique people today. Because the fact, in a sense, that we carry, in a sense, the knowledge and genes of 3 continents. Think about that, family. 3 continents: Africa, Europe, and America. We have all of that knowledge. You see, because often, in a sense, we think that the slaves were real dumb. That, in a sense, all they did was pick cotton. They didn't just pick cotton. Remember, by the end of slavery, by 1865, the majority of skilled people in this country were freemen, former slaves. They had all the skills. That's one of the reasons why they established unions, so that they could bring in white people from Europe to try to, in a sense, take those trades back and not have to hire us to be in a sense, the tradesmen and maybe, in a sense, the medics. So this has always been, we were the architects, all that type of good stuff. But again, they have to teach you. They have to teach you, in a sense, that we didn't contribute to the world, because see, you have to understand is that the entire world culture, yes, the world culture is based upon foundational Black Americans. The music, the civilization. You're saying, how is that possible? It's simple. You see? We made the telephone work. The telephone communication is the number one thing that takes place throughout this country. We were the first ones to write the manuals on electricity, and this electricity that's powered our progress as human beings on this planet. You see, we did that. Foundational Black Americans did that. Then finally, Elijah McCoy, he invented the oil, and by inventing a way, in a sense, to keep machinery oiled, that's what ran the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution is a product of people being able to produce products in factories, and these factories had machines. So the whole world is based on us. Without foundational Black Americans, we would still be living in the Stone Age. Yes. Without foundational Black Americans, we would still be living like the people did in medieval Europe. Because of the fact, in the sense that we have all of this creativity from the result of going through an ethnogenesis, being the products of Aboriginal blacks, the Black Europeans, Sub-Saharan Africans. Through this ethnogenesis, we carry, in a sense, the knowledge. We carry, in a sense, the creativity of all these people. And that's why the whole world is dependent upon us. Without us, there would be no worldwide civilization. Without foundational Black Americans. That's why I'm proud. I'm proud to be a foundational Black American. You know, and then you say, well, why are you proud of that, Clyde? Your people went through slavery. Your people have always experienced discrimination. Your people, in a sense, lack the wealth that Europeans have. You're true. We went through slavery. We were abused. We suffered the cruelty of racism. We lost our lives, but at the same time, we fought back because, see, we are a people. We are a people, in a sense, who are prisoners of war. The first Aboriginal slaves, they, in a sense, were the result of Europeans fighting Black Aboriginals. And when the Black Aboriginals lost, they made them a slave for life on the plantation. When they took our ancestors from Ireland, Oliver Cromwell, after he killed off 100,000 Black Irish, you know, throwing their babies into the water, drowning them, killing them, he sent over 300,000 Black Irish. I'm not talking about this bullshit about no white Irish and they had black hair. I'm talking about black in terms of, in a sense, melanated, pigmented people. 300,000 they sent to the Caribbean and to the 13 colonies. So we're a product of those people who began coming over here between 1630 and 1670. Yes, I'm not talking about the ones that came during the potato famine. These were people who had came in and took over the land, took over the property. These were the people, in a sense, who used to be the serfs of the Black elites that used to rule in Ireland and Scotland, you know, and part of Britain, you see. So we went through that ethnogenesis. Then they brought us from Africa, and we brought all these different skills. Remember, it was because of Africans that they finally found the fight in a sense, smallpox and things like that, you see. So we have a great ancestry. We have a great history. And much of this history, much of this greatness comes from the fact that we have been a people who have always fought, you see. A lot of people, they can't understand. They say, why are these Afro-Americans, these foundational Black Americans always talking about fighting? Why are they always talking about standing strong? That's because that's how we survived. You think about this, family. You think about this is that it's foundational Black Americans who are the only people who fight worldwide white supremacy. Even though they claim, which is a lie, even though they claim that we're only 14% population, we fought, we fight, and look at all the changes that we made in this country and what we made them to accommodate us. No other people on the planet Earth has had that power because we are a people who have a warrior spirit. And we have a warrior spirit because we're prisoners of war. None of us came over here voluntarily. Every descendant of a slave, their ancestors became slaves in the United States, not through voluntary means, but through combat. We engaged in war, we lost. They made us as slaves. So that's why we don't know anything to do but to fight. We don't know anything but to do but to stand up for ourselves. We don't know anything but to do but to be proud. Be proud of the ethnogenesis that we went through. Be proud of the fact that as FBA, that we stimulate the whole culture. The whole culture. The worldwide culture is dependent on you. dependent on me, dependent on us. See, just take a moment. Take a moment. We were the ones that made it possible to use this internet. This system was developed so they could communicate, and if there was a nuclear war, they could communicate with each other on this internet. And it was a brother who, in a sense, made it so that we could use this internet for entertainment. We could use this internet for information. We could use this internet to share and in a sense to communicate with one another around the world. See. How you doing, Todd Williams? Tone Fire, what up, dude? And Mr. Sharp. So we have a lot to be proud of. But we even have more in a sense. We have more work to do. But the thing is this, so as I said, today is the 4th of July. Today is a happy day for the nation. I'm proud to say I'm a foundational Black American, but I'm not proud of that flag. I'm not celebrating the founding of the United States because it was the federal government that kept us slaves. It was the federal government that allowed the states to be able, in a sense, to maintain us in slavery because they're the ones who made, in a sense, the laws that allowed them to hunt us down. They're the ones, in a sense, that provided the militias and provided, in a sense, the various armies to try to conquer us, to try to bring us back and to force us on the plantation to work for these terms. And it's time that we get our reparations. Yes, we deserve reparations. We deserve reparations for the debt that they owe us. Yes, they owe us. You know, the Moorish diaspora, he says, respectfully, FBA is another slave label and a distraction. Well, that's bullshit, Moorish diaspora. FBA is the first term. It's the first term that we use to define ourselves. It's not, and who cares if it's a slave label? It's not a slave label. It's a damn slave. Think about this. Think about this, fellas. Think about this, family. Think about this. They had slavery in Africa. They're proud to tell you they had slavery in Africa. Where's Africa? Africa ain't shit. They had slavery in Yugoslavia, Ukraine. Yugoslavia, they ain't shit. But you look at the foundation of Black American former slaves. Look at where we are today. We got millionaires. We even got a few billionaires. We're not on the plantation no more. We live in nice homes. We drive nice cars. Some of us have even more money than our former. You see? So what did they accomplish? What did they accomplish? You see? They made us their slaves, but although they made us their chattel slaves, we never fully submitted. We never submitted because we understood that as prisoners of war, you fight. They only teach you about 3 slave rebellions. You know how many rebellions we had? 250. 250 recorded rebellions that we staged to fight our masters. That's not counting the Black men and women who put glass in their master's food. That's not counting the Black men and women who burned down the big house while master was asleep. We have been warriors. We have been fighters. Don't give me that ish about the slave. We haven't been a damn weak ass people. We're not weak. We're not weak. Just because we go along to get along, they know not to push us too far. Yes, they know not to push us too far. I'm 73 years old. I got to go to the University of Illinois, Champaign-Urbana. I grew up in a ghetto on the south side of Chicago. But they let my ass in the university because we burned down parts of Chicago. Not just in Chicago, but we burned down other parts of this country. And they said, we better get them niggers something. See, don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. We've never got any damn thing for free. During the Civil War, the North was losing. Then they allowed, in a sense, foundational Black Americans to join the Civil War as Union soldiers. 200,000 fought and gained our freedom, baby. Don't you ever get it twisted. The white man ain't never gave us nothing. He ain't never gave us nothing. You see? You know, here's a brother right here. See, Meta said, we still asking y'all masters, kids for jobs. We ain't gained squat. You ain't for it, and that Turner for it. You're a lie. Nat Turner, in a sense, he fought and we fought too. How the hell you think we got where we are today, man? Why are we still sitting in them damn slave quarters? We're not sleeping and we're not in the damn slave quarters. Six murder. We're not in the slave quarters. Why the hell do we have more than our masters? Why ain't all of us, in a sense, waiting for a check every month on aid? Why aren't all of us getting food stamps? Get out of here, nigga. What? Dumbass nigga. Yeah, you a dumbass nigga. And you know why you a dumbass nigga? Because you don't even understand, man. We come from a proud people. I bet, Metro, I wouldn't even be surprised if you were a damn tether. I wouldn't be surprised if you were a tether. You know, a tether is someone who comes from a foreign country, and they come over here and they don't know how to stand strong. They don't know how to fight. You see? Look at this brother. Here we go. We ain't got nothing. Look at how they treated the Jews, gave them a country and billions. They ain't give us shit. Why do we need a new country? It's okay living here. Why do we need a new country? Why do we need a new country? They got their own country. See? So what? So what? So what? See? What would a new country mean to us? What is it? Our incomes are higher than any black people on the planet Earth. Our incomes are more better than any African country that exists today, or even black countries in the Caribbean. We live better. We're healthier. See? So why? Why? See? You got to twist it, Six Murder. You got to twist it. You see? You see? And then you talk about this whole fact, you know, they colleges, they jobs, they products, we still slaves. How the hell are you still a slave? Man, you don't know what a damn slave was. You know, go to the internet, hook up to some of those former slaves in the who in the 1930s, you know, talk to the government. They'll tell you what slavery was like. Slavery. I got the freedom to do whatever the hell I want, just like you got the freedom to be dumb or to be smart. Nigga, what? Come on, man. Come on, man. Don't give me that bullshit. Don't tell me that we still slaves. How the hell we still slaves? Even when they say that, oh, you're playing for the bulls. You're playing for the bears. You're just a modern slave. You're a millionaire, baby. Get it straight. Get it straight. See, get it straight. See, I don't have to overlord you to be doing well. You see, when I was younger, I went to my old man and I said, Pops, I called him Daddy-O. I said, Daddy-O, you know, we got to turn this mother out. We got to do what it do. You know, my father said, Clyde, he let me talk. He said, calm down. He said, brother, he said, you're going to see progress. I said, get out of here. We got to fight. We got to turn it out. We got to burn it down. He said, we do fight. We do turn it out. But look at what we get. Look at this. Look at this. We're supposed to be the former slaves of these people, and yet we got more than some of our former slave masters, babe. Get out of here, dumbass. Six Murder, you must be you got to be a damn tether. You got to be some damn foreigner because, see, you don't even understand what's going on, you see. Here we go. Everything here is borrowed. You can't build general wealth here. You're a damn lie. You can build general wealth, you can generate wealth here. There's people who are doing it. The only problem is, in a sense, can you keep that wealth? You see? Can you keep that wealth? What are you doing to generate wealth? You know, you're talking about, here's another, you say, y'all shouldn't listen to Malcolm and Franklin, not to sell out Martin. What did Malcolm say? What did Malcolm say? Malcolm said, stand up. Martin Luther King said, niggas, you need a job. Martin Luther King said, you got to fight. Martin Luther King said, you got to fight, in a sense, to get these jobs. Martin Luther King said you got to get out and you got to move on these things. See. Don't be trying to tell me about Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. You're probably not. I bet 6 murder. Look at your tax dollars right now, 20. They gave billions to Ukraine and Israel. We and have got nothing. This is your investment. They're sending away, but I bet you have. What the hell? I don't give a damn if they get a damn money to Ukraine. You see? I don't give a damn Ukraine. See? Are you still a slave? 6 Metra. See? This is a place in a sense is that yes, we suffer from discrimination. Yes, we suffer from racism. But see, I can tell that you're not a foundational Black American because the foundational Black Americans understand that you have to fight. You have to fight to get what you want, you see. A foundational Black American understand that you have to fight in a sense to be able to live the life you want to live. A foundational Black American understands that no matter how hard it is, you better fight, brother. You better fight, sister. See, we're not anything. I mean, just the recent cases during the George Floyd thing, look at all the things that they changed. Look how they tore down statues. Look how they changed the environment in many cities, you know? See? You know? And so then that's the whole point. Then here you go. Look at your webcam. I'm a vet, and I'm telling you this. I did my part. I didn't dodge the draft like Trump did, but he's about to draft you Black kids to send off to die in Ukraine. I'm not that. What the hell? It doesn't matter. I'm my grandson and stuff. I'm not sending him to no Ukraine. See, they can draft whoever the hell. We can't stop the damn draft. They can stop the earlier draft. You fight and you may die, but see that you may die in the street. See, you may die in the street. See, 6 murder. You are in a sense. You are a tether, or you are in a sense a white person. You know, see. You are in a sense. I don't even think you Black. I don't even think you Black. So I'm going to delete your comment, and on top of deleting your comment, I'm gonna ban you. Yes, I don't think you Black. You know why I don't think you Black? Because you're talking stupid. You're talking stupid. A real foundational American understands that you have to fight to get what the hell you want. A real foundational American understand I ain't worried about no Ukraine getting no money. I ain't worried about them giving Israel no damn money. You know what I'm worried about? I'm worried about niggas that don't want to stand up on their own 10 toes down to get out of life what they want to get out of life. See, I get upset when you see Black people mealy mouth and afraid to say who and what they are, or who are afraid to, in a sense, fight. That's what I'm for. Granted, I didn't follow no Martin Luther King back in the day because I didn't feel I should let nobody whip my ass and not fight back. See, but Malcolm X, in a sense, Malcolm X didn't raise no fools, baby. Didn't raise no fool. I'll admit, I have to admit, as a in a sense, I do in a sense feel that our policy of go along to get along, I don't think it's been beneficial. But at the same time, in a sense, you take this into account. Look at how we are, in a sense. We dominate the world. Look at what we've accomplished. Look at how the whole world, all civilization is based upon what we did here in terms of making the telephone, the electricity, making the factories work because of Elijah McCoy. See, you know, and that's just the way it is. It says not trolling, but why does the current FBA keep associating like an appendage with the adults advocacy, Barbara Winters, and also? But the thing is, this is that hey, we are descendants of slaves, man. So that's one of the reasons that we go B1. We go B1 because we can be unified, and that's what we're B1. But again, I want to get to this topic today, so I'm going to go right into the discussion because I don't want to keep you guys longer than a couple of hours, So let's go to the presentation and let's talk about this. The Kushite, the Hyksos, were Cushites, not black. This is very important to understand, because see, they keep teaching you. They keep teaching you that the Hyksos people, they were in a sense some white people. There's some Asians. They were probably original Jews. Look at this picture. In this picture, we see this made up Ashkenazi probably, and how they want you to believe that the world was back in the day. They want you to believe that the Hyksos people were probably Jewish people, and that these Jewish people, in a sense, came and they took over Lower Egypt, and after they took over Lower Egypt, then they had a war with Egypt, with the Egyptians, and they tried to take over Egypt, and there was a civil war. A lot of that's bullshit. They were not white. The Hyksos people were not white. The Hyksos people were not Asians. The Hyksos people, in a sense, were people who had lived in Tamek or Lower Egypt for millennium. See, in fact, Hyksos was just another word for Cushite. Yes, the original word for Cushite was Hyksos. Yes, Hyksos. That's the original name for Cushite, not Cush. You can go to my Patreon to see the slides. After I make this presentation, I'm going to put the slides in Patreon. Join my Patreon. It's my Patreon followers who allowed me, in a sense, to be able to do this presentation. It's my Patreon followers who even encouraged me to do this topic. It's my Patreon followers that allow me to have the finances to buy new books and to go behind paywalls and get the latest research material so I can bring to you, family. Yes. It's because of my Patreon. Please join my Patreon. I'm sorry I can't see what's going in the slide in the chat right now. So if there's some trolls there, well, hey, I'm sorry. I can't see them and do this too. You're on my YouTube video channel. I have here over 350 videos. Yes, 350 videos. And these videos are on every topic dealing with the history of Black people on every continent throughout the world. Don't just come here every week and look at my lives. Visit some of my other videos. Support me. Support this research site. Use it as a resource. If you want your children to know, if you want to learn more about our history, check out the videos on my YouTube channel where you're at right here, right now. You can order my books at Amazon.com. Not all 50 books, about 3, 4. Muhammad is on. Well, a couple of my books that I wrote in the 80s. In the 80s, they're not still being published, but most of my other books are there. So you can find, always go to Amazon.com, get my books. And one of the reasons that I'm always writing new books is because the fact, in a sense, it is so much of our history that is a lie, and it's so much, in a sense, that has to be rewritten so that we'll know the true history. Let the researcher do the research. Yes, let the researcher do the research. When I became an Afrocentric researcher, I didn't have any class that I could go to. It wasn't any course at university. I had to learn, in a sense, how to do this research by looking at what the former researchers did. Anti-Diop, W.B. Du Bois, Carter G. Woodson. But you don't have to go through all that. You don't have to, in a sense, have to rebuild or have to build your own method of research. I've already done it for you. This I lay out in my book, Pathfinder, Clyde Winters in Search of the Roots of Afrocentrism, a memoir. In this memoir, I talk about how I became an Afrocentric researcher. I talk about the pitfalls, the ups and downs. I talk about, in a sense, the people I met along the way. And I explain how you too can be a researcher. Let the researcher do the research. I teach a research course, and the research course, it lasts 15 weeks. Yes, 15 weeks. It's a 15-week research course in which the people who take the course learn how to do qualitative and quantitative research. They also learn how to write history, linguistics, anthropology, and genetic articles. You learn how to write all that type of stuff, and you learn how to become a published author. And you learn, in a sense, how to do the research. And that's the most important thing. And, if you haven't taken my course, you can buy this book, Afrocentric Researcher. This is the textbook that I use in my 15-week course. Afrocentric Research is a guide to study social science research methods. And in this book, you'll learn how to do qualitative research surveys, how to write up articles, how to do any type of research in any type of area. So get these books if you want to be a researcher. Let the researcher do the research. Today, I'm going to talk about the Nile Valley. Some of my books that deal with the Nile Valley include Ancient African History Primer. That's mainly about the history of Africa. If you get my book, The World History of the Black Race, in this book, I talk about Black civilizations throughout the world, on every continent. Get that book. It's a good survey book. It's a good book that you should have your children read, or you can read, so that you'll understand our unique and our history as an African people. You can get my book, Nile Valley History of the Veda. This book, in a sense, you will find very interesting because it shows that many of the Indus Valley texts and many of the texts that are found in India, the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, the Talmud, the various, the Veda, these books, in a sense, instead of them talking about India, they're really talking about the Nile Valley. So get my book, Nile Valley History of the Veda. And then the Kushites Who, What, When, Where. Get that book, and that'll give you, that is the only book that outlines the history of the Kushites. You're saying to yourself, why, Dr. Winters, if we're Aboriginal people, if we're people in a sense who've always lived, who've lived on this continent for an extended period of time, why do I want to know about ancient Egyptian history and all that? Well, one of the reasons you want to know is that Black people came from Africa and they settled in the Americas over many and extended periods. That's the best proof of that. Is two proofs of that. Number one is the so-called cocaine mummies. Cocaine is found in South America. They found Egyptian mummies with cocaine, so that shows that there was an interaction between the Americas and Africa. In addition, we know in a sense that because of the Mali expansion in the Americas and the mounds and other things, we know that other people came to the Americas from Africa. So it's always good to know about the history of Black people in Africa, because the fact, in a sense, is that we do have African ancestry. Our heritage is Aboriginal. We have an Aboriginal heritage. My Aboriginal heritage is Choctaw, you see. But in a sense, we also have an African ancestry. That means that our great grandparents came from where? Africa. You see, they'll tell you this lie, oh, all people have an, no, get that, stop believing that bullshit. When they tell you that Chinese, Europeans, that they all have they don't have an African ancestry, that is a damn lie. Just because they carry our DNA does not mean that they have an African ancestry. They did not evolve on the African continent. They did not build the African, in a sense, civilizations. They were not the founders. They were not the participants. Stop believing that lie. What is FBA? FBA is not a group. FBA is not an organization. FBA is a lineage. A lineage is lineal descent from an ancestor, ancestry or pedigree. FBA have went through an ethnogenesis. As a result, we are descendants of the African, Black, European, and Aboriginal Blacks who built the United States. Yes, we're FBA. B1 is acknowledging your Black African ancestry and not heritage. We must be race men and women proud of our culture and African Black ancestry. We have to be B1. But B1, in a sense, you have to understand, as I've told you before, is that Black does not just mean, in a sense, Black is based upon the whole idea that when the Egyptians, when they said they were Black, they used, in a sense, a piece of charcoal to demonstrate, to show this Blackness. But you had to think about it in much more detail. What about that? What about that piece of charcoal? That piece of charcoal is usually associated with a fire. When you make a fire, what do? You illuminate, in a sense, the darkness. So when you're saying Black, you're saying that you're brilliant because it's your brilliance, in the sense that exudes this Blackness, because you're that shining light. So Black equal brilliant. Yes, Black equal brilliant. When you check the meaning of Black in Old English, the meaning of black in Latin, the meaning of black in Greek. You're going to find in the sense that black is always associated with brilliant. So you're brilliant. So when you're B1, you're black first. When you're B1, you're brilliant first. You're black and you're brilliant. Critical race theory. Critical race theory is a theory that was created by the white supremacists, in which they always win. You have to understand that critical race theory maintains that 1, they hate you. 2, they want to kill you. 3, they created a race in which they always win. Yes, yes. Racism is a race in which the Europeans, due to white privilege, are always going to win, they claim. And yet, look at this. Look at this, family. Look at how under white supremacy. Look at how living among people who hate you. Look how living among people that want to kill you. Learn about how people who have a race and they're doing everything to keep you down, they cannot keep us down and out. Look at how we fought, and we fought over the years to be the people who we are today. We fought over the years, in a sense, to be able to stand tall. We're not enslaved. We're not living in a slave village. We're not living in ghettos. Yes, that was a part of our lives. That was a part of our progression. But because of the fact that we keep fighting, because of the fact that we always stand 10 toes down, we've made progress, and we continue to make progress. And then people say, what the hell good is progress? Everything is good as progress. You see? That's why, in a sense, people always come to the United States to live off what we built. We built this country. Why shouldn't we benefit from it? Get out of here. Nigga, what? Don't tell me that I should want to go and start a land somewhere else. Don't tell me I should want to go and live in Africa. Most of our ancestors didn't even come from Africa. Hell no. We built this land. Since we built this land, don't we deserve, in a sense, to still stay in the race? Don't we deserve, in a sense, to get a piece of the pie? Yes, sir. I want a big piece of the pie. Yeah. Get out of here. Nigga, what? Don't tell me to quit. The Hyksos were Cushites, not whites. No, they were not white, you see. But this is what they tell you. They tell you that the Cushites, they've written all these books about the Hyksos, and then they tell you that the Hyksos, in a sense, they were Asians. The Hyksos were originally the Jews. The Hyksos was originally the Hebrews. The Hyksos were some white people in Africa. And that's why, in a sense, the Hyksos should be recognized. No, that's all bullshit. It's a lie. It's a lie. The Hyksos was black like you. The Hyksos was black like me. The Hyksos was black with us. In fact, Hyksos was the first Cushite dynasty of Egypt. Yes, yes. The first Cushite dynasty of Egypt were the Hyksos. In the ancient literature, the Proto-Dravidians, Sumerians, the Lamites, etc., are called Cushites. Using boats, the Cushites moved down ancient waterways. Many now dried up to establish new towns in Asia and Europe after 3500 BC. The Cushites remained supreme around the world until 14 to 1200 BC. During this period, the Hua, Chinese, and Indo-European, or Caucasian speakers began to conquer the Cushites, whose cities and economies were destroyed as a result of natural catastrophes, which took place on the planet between 1400 and 1200 BC. Later, after 500 AD, Turkish-speaking people began to settle parts of Central Asia. This is the reason behind the presence of the Ks, KSH element in many place names in Asia. For example, Kashgar, Hindu Kush, and Kush. The Hindu Kush in Harappan times had lapis lazuli deposits. The Unanian ancestors of the Kushite bowmen, yes. Many of the ancestors of the Kushites, they were bowmen. They used bows and arrows, and they lived in the ancient Sahara. Much of the archaeology of the Unanian period relates to these people. The Unanians were members of the Caspian population. There was continuity between the populations in the Maghreb and southern Sahara, referred to as Caspians, Ibero-Mauritians, and Mechtoids. The Niger-Congo speakers are descendants of the Caspian population. Caspian people did not only live in Africa, they were also present in South Asia. Many people have found, Dorvell, I can't argue with him, and I'm going to go along with him. Dorvell has found that the word Kush refers in a sense to the lions or the leopard. So in a way, in a sense, the Kushites were the leopard people, or they belonged to the leopard clan or the lion clan. And this is probably true. And maybe in a sense they wanted to be associated with leopards, because the fact is that the leopard is the king of the jungle. The lion is the king of the plains. There were lions everywhere. There were, in a sense, many other feline creatures. But again, if Kushite means lion, if Kushite means leopard, then so be it. This is why here we see the symbol of Hush or Kesh, Kush. This symbol has in a sense 3 hills 3 times. And this symbol, as you see above it, this is a symbol for Kish, Kosh, Hush, or Kush. This is what the Egyptians used in their inscriptions to identify this ancient land. It's why the Egyptians often referred to the Kushites as the hill people. That's why we see the 3 hills and we see the 3 hilly areas. So they were hill people. That means they lived in the highlands. The Winnie inscription makes it clear that the name Hush was made up of 3 N25 signs from Gardner's list of Egyptian signs. The N25 sign also represents Hush, Hush. This means that N25 represents the name Hush, Hush for the ethnonym Kushite. Again, in a sense, this is where you can see it. Okay, when you look at this, you can see that we have the symbol. Let's go across from left to right. S38. We have C104, and then we have N25. Okay, this first symbol, this crook, that's the Heka sign. That Heka sign refers to kings. They did not refer to any non-Egyptian people, with that Heka sign. That Heka sign means, in a sense, that you were an Egyptian king. And that should have been a key to people when we read about the kings of Lower Egypt, who were called Hyksos. By that Heka sign, that was a giveaway that they were talking about, in a sense, a Kushite people, a black people, not a white people, not Asian people. Get out of here. What? Hyksos kings were proud of their Kushite origin. In the Hyksos seals, the kings wrote their names followed by the Heka Has, kings of the Kushites. These seals are primary contemporaneous ancient Egyptian literature documentation, indicating that the Hyksos used this name to illustrate their Kushite ancestry and relationship to the Nubian Kushites. Yes. There were Kushites in Lower Egypt and Kushites in Nubia. So that means, in a sense, that the Kemet civilization, Egyptian civilization, was built between 2 groups of people who considered themselves Kushites, lions, leopards. Egyptian Kosh represents the Kashkas or Kashka, the name of the Hadeans. The Egyptian term Hasut has 3 different elements: the ethnonym Has, Kush, plus the U, which was the Egyptian plural marker, while the Egyptian T was a suffix that signified land people. So Hasht, Hasut. That meant, in the sense, that this was the people of Kush. The Turin Royal Canon, where the Hyksos was styled Heka Hasut, the same name they called the other Kushites in Nubia during the Old Kingdom. During the New Kingdom, the Kushites were still being called Has, the same name the Hadeans called themselves, i.e. Hashka. Here you can see the Egyptian king Nahisi. And Nahisi belonged to the 13th dynasty. The Hyksos ruled from 1650 to 1550. The New Kingdom lasted from 1549 to 1292. During the New Kingdom, Egyptians used the name Amra as a generic name for the Asian. The term Habiru was an ethnonym for one of the Asian tribes. It is clear that if the Habiru and Heka Hasut were the same people, they would have had the same name, given the fact that the New Kingdom began at the end of the Heka Hasut period. In other words, in a sense, the Heka Haka, Hasut. They were never called, in a sense, Amu. They were never called Amu. They were never called Amu. Amu was only reserved to Asian people, the people who lived in Asia. See, the Hyksos people, these people who lived in Tamek or Lower Egypt, they were Cushites. They weren't, in a sense, Amu. Apophis maintained the traditions of the Egyptians during his rule. He was, in a sense, an Hyksos king. He is credited with encouraging his scribes to copy priceless Egyptian texts, including the Edwin Smith Surgical Papyrus, the oldest known surgical handbook, the Rhind Mathematical Papyrus, which explains Egyptian mathematical theory, and the Westcar Papyrus. These texts would have been lost to mankind except for the foresight of Pharaoh Apophis. That's Pharaoh Apophis on the right-hand side. Hyksos. Look at here. See, this is very interesting. They called him Heka Hasut. That's how we get this name, Hyksos. Hyksos comes from Heka Hasut. Heka Hasut, the kings of Cush. Hyksos. Anti-Diop is one of our greatest scholars, but he was wrong about the Hyksos being Asian. This is supported by the fact that, one, Anti-Diop is one of the greatest scholars, but he was wrong about the Hyksos being Asians. Number one, in Narmer's time, the Cushites were called Hast, or the Nahil Tela Bula. Number two, in the Una inscriptions, Lower Egypt or Kemet was called Hasht, Cush or Cushite Temek. Three, archaeological research indicates there was never a migration into Temek from Asia. Yeah, they try to teach you that the Hyksos, in a sense, these were really Asian immigrants, and these Asians migrated into Lower Egypt. They took over Lower Egypt, and they went to war against the Egyptians in Upper Egypt. No. The people in Lower Egypt were always Hyksos. That's what they call their names all the way back to King Nammer. Hyksos king like Apophis, and Semakin continued to refer to themselves as Haka Has, kings of Has, using the same term Hast, first used 4,000 years ago to refer to Cush since Narmer's time. The ancient group known widely as the Hyksos are deceptively studied in Egyptology as a unique ethnic group, although they were clearly identified in Egyptian literature as Amu, which is untrue. The name Hyksos originates from a Hellenized version of the Egyptian name Haka Hasut. They say it's rulers of foreign land. No, it means Cushite. And we're going to continue, and then you'll see. The Hyksos had a name, Hast, for thousands of years before the 18th dynasty, beginning with Narmer. What matters is that the Hyksos were Cushites, even though the members of the 18th dynasty hated Hyksos like they hated the Nehisi Cushites below Upper Egypt. Anti-Diop is one of our greatest scholars, but he was wrong. He was wrong, you see, and we know he was wrong. Research by C. Stantis and others in a paper presented at the American Association of Physical Anthropologists in 2019 proved that these, in a sense, the people in Lower Egypt, the Hyksos, were not, in a sense, foreigners. The tombs, in a sense, show that they all had the same Egyptian monument, same Egyptian things. They belonged to the same Egyptian groups. The isotopes show that their teeth shows that they had always eaten Egyptian food. They didn't eat any food that came from Asia. The chemical analysis and everything showed that these people, that the Hyksos, the so-called people who had conquered in a sense, Lower Egypt, the people at Tel El Daba or Alvarez, they in a sense found that these people were not foreigners. They were not Asians. They had always lived. Yes, they had always lived in Lower Egypt or Tamek. Egyptian literature supports the archaeological evidence that the Hyksos were native to Lower Egypt. Thus, the inscription of Winnie line 46 reads, and I quote, His Majesty made war on the Asiatic sand dweller, and His Majesty made an army of many tens of thousands in the entire southward to Elephantine and northward to to Aphroditopolis in the Northland on both sides, entire in the stronghold. And in the midst of the stronghold, among the Erted Heka Hasut, the Mazoi Heka Hasut, the Yam Heka Hasut, among the Wawat Heka Hasut, among the Kau Heka Hasut, and in the land of Tamek. Remember, so we see that even in this inscription, yes, in this inscription, we read in the sense that the Haka Hasuts included all of in a sense Lower Kush, and also they mention the land of Tamek. You can check this source out at here's the source at Nismiser at http://www.temahu.com. You see, this can show that Tamek was always the land of the Hyksos. These are some of the Heka Hyksos signs. Look on these signs. You see, on these signs you can see the crook on these signs, and crook was the Heka sign. You see, and the Heka sign was the sign for king. You see, and on all these inscriptions we see the Heka sign. You will not find any non-Egyptian rulers. You will not find any non-Egyptian rulers who would be identified as Heka or kings in any Egyptian inscription. The only people that have the Heka sign are native Egyptian kings from Upper and Lower Egypt. So as you can see, this was found, and we can see here's some of the seals from some of the various kings. And if you look at these seals, you can see clearly that they have the Heka sign on these seals that come from many of the Hyksos kings. And we can see in a sense that we find the Heka. Let's look at that picture. We see on the lower right hand side, we can see the Heka sign, and then we see the sign for Hush or Kush, Hux or Kush, and that's the three mountain signs. And these inscriptions are always associated with any of the Hyksos, kings, because they were Hasut. Francis Llewellyn Griffin translated the inscription of Una. Griffin translated the word Nehesi as Negro. Una listed the Kushite dynasties in the Winner inscription as follows. When His Majesty chastised the Hamu Herksha, see it, the Majesty made an army of many tens of thousands out of the whole of upper country from Abu in the south to Aphroditopolis in the north, and out of the lower country from the whole of the two sides, out of the Caesar camp. And he translated it as Negro. The 9 Negroes of Arat, 10 the Negroes from Meza, Negroes from Ilyam, Negroes from Wawat, Negroes from Kau, and foreigners from the land of Tamek. And that's because it was Kasu. Again, you can see Tamek is the name of Lower Egypt. Tamek is the name of Lower Egypt, and you can see that even in the Egyptian inscriptions, they were telling you that the people who lived in Lower Egypt were predominantly Cushites. If Tamek was the name for Lower Egypt in addition to Libya, makes it clear that the Cushites lived not only in Nubia, but also Lower Egypt and Libya. See? And this is very important to understand. That's why when they tell you that the Hyksos were white, when they tell you that the Hyksos were Jews, that's all cop. It's all cop. It's not true. See? The Hyksos were black people like you, black people like me, black people like us. There are other published papers that support the standards research. The latest research on the Hyksos indicate that there was an invasion of Lower Egypt. The Hyksos were already living in Lower Egypt, and Bruce Bauer admits that there are no places in Lower Egypt that indicates any battle being fought in the region before and during the Hyksos period. So if it would have been Asians invading Lower Egypt, if the Hyksos would have invaded Lower Egypt, you would know it would have been places where it would have been battles. You'd have found fields where people have been killed and all that type of mess. There are no in a sense no No evidence of any battles, Moreover, the archaeological evidence makes it clear that the Lower Egyptians and people in Libya and the Middle East practiced the same culture. They also had strong relations with the Cushites in Nubia. This is not surprising because Lower Egypt, Libya, and the Levant made up Temek, which since the Una inscription dating to the Old Kingdom was Hasut. Here's some more references. Again, my slides. These slides are going to be in my Patreon. Join my Patreon, support me. You can copy down these slides too by just stopping this particular slide that you're looking at while you're viewing this presentation, and you can copy down these references or sources, or you can join my Patreon where you're going to find the slides, and you can look at them slowly and be able, in a sense, to take your time to really absorb the information that are on the slides. The so-called West Semitic name of the Hyksos are in reality Cushite names taken into the Levant by the Nile Valley Cushites, who first settled the Levant during Narmer's colonization of West Asia. The Cushites, led by Narmer, had early colonized the Levant and the rest of Eurasia. The Cushites were called Hyksos in Lower Egypt and the Levant. Cushites had early settled in the Levant since Narmer's time. We find Narmer's name on jars and shrieks from excavations in Israel and Palestine. We also find that the Nahal Tel Abula, and on the Nahal Tel Abula, look at this, you can see where they clearly record the name Hyksos, which means Cush, and then Hyksos for Cushite. Hyksos. See? Look at this bula. This is evidence that people have been called Cushite or Hyksos long before the Hyksos came in, long before the Hyksos are supposed to invaded Lower Egypt. They've already been calling themselves Cushites. And if you remember this, it shouldn't be so strange because the so-called first Sipad of Egypt was supposed to be Tarseti. And Tarseti was clearly recognized as in a sense a Cushite nation. Before it became part of Kemet. So we can see a lot of places where Cushites lived later, in a sense, became, in a sense, Kemetians, And now I'm still trying to put this together. Maybe one of you guys out there, Mike, can do the research and get a clear understanding of why they wanted to, in a sense, clearly show a differentiation between the Cushites and, in a sense, the Kemetians, even though the Cushites and the Kemetians were one people. They practiced the same culture, and they spoke the same language. They spoke the same lingua franca, because the Metanetra, though that's not, in a sense, a unitary language. Metanetra is a lingua franca. It was a language that was created by the Egyptians to be able to communicate among each other, because the Egypt, ancient Kemet, was, in a sense, a confederation. And because it was a confederation, it was made up of many nations, but they were unified into a confederacy as Kemetians and in the civilization of Kemet. But again, let's look at this bula. This bula goes back to Narmer times, and it clearly shows that the word Hyksos was, in a sense, the word for Cush and Cushite. It's very important to remember this. The Cushites at Naphtali herded cattle and cultivated crops. The Cushites cultivated Pinistum millet at Naphtali circa 7,950 BC and probably herded cattle. A center of cattle worship was also at Kiseba, Napta region in Middle Africa. Again, in a sense, this is an ancient site that, Naphtali shows the civilization that existed back in the day. The president of Narmer's Hyksos bull indicates that since the Levant was called Hyksos, since Narmer's ruled an area, he was probably a Cushite. The modern interpretation of Gardenia's Egyptian sign as Hyksos is wrong. It's, in a sense, originally it was not pronounced Cush, Hush. It was pronounced Hush, hushed, hushed, hushed. That's where we get the Hyksos, Hyksos, Hyksos. Writing just Hyksos means Cushite, while adding 3 lines using the plural Cushites. Thusly, on the second and other scarabs during this period, we have the second, the king of the Cushites. On the Khnum Hotep, the second Beni Hassan inscription, we have Hekahas in the front of the lead Hyksos above the Nubian ibis. There's epigraphic evidence, as I showed you, that the term Hux goes back to Narmer's day. Again, in a sense, we can see the Bula. We can see clearly on this Bula, we can clearly see the whole idea of Cushite, you see. Or we see Hast or Cushite. And we see, in a sense, those three mountainous areas, and they have the 3 mountainous areas on this particular Bula. And this is why they say that the Levant back in the day, this period, all the way from Tamek and Lower Egypt, all the way, in a sense, to Turkey. To Turkey was probably known as Kush. And that's one of the reasons why we find all these modern place names that go back to Hush. You know, again, in a sense, we can see this is you can look at that map on the left and right hand side, and on this map you can see many of the cities in this area, and you can see that it was in the Levant where they found, you know, the Nahal Tilabula, where we find the earliest evidence, you know, from Tel Irana, Arad, Imbisur, Halif Tarens, Nahal Tila. We see not only, in a sense, the inscriptions of Narmer, but it's associated with the Bula, with this Bula from Nahal Tila, which has Hokst on it, or Kush. So remember, although we say Kush today, it was originally called Hokst. The presence of the Bula indicates that since the area was called Hokst, or Kush, since Narmer's ruled the area, the modern interpretation has to be the same. Let's look at here at the Khnum Hotep, the 3rd inscription. This is we find this in front of the Kushite king called Abishari. And again, in a sense, you can see on that on the left hand we see the Haka symbol, see the crook, and then we see the sign for Kush, then we sign the T for place above it. And so, and then on the right hand side we see Abishari written in Egyptian hieroglyphs. Okay, now this in a sense is from the Khnum Hotep inscription, but look right under we have the Simkin inscription. When you look at this inscription, look at it clearly. Again, you can see the Heka sign. See that Heka sign? Heka, the crook. Then we see, in a sense, the dating, the place sign, and then we can see, in a sense, up under it the symbol in a sense for Kush, Heka Hasut, Heka Has. Hekahas. See, and so then, in a sense, you know, a lot of times they'll tell you that Kush really means foreign rulers. But why would the Hyksos be calling themselves foreign rulers? Why would they be calling themselves foreign rulers when they were the kings of the land? That is so stupid. And yet we accept this European interpretation that Hux meant foreign ruler. It didn't mean foreign ruler. It meant Cushite. And they were just saying that they were kings of the Cushites, you see. That's why so much of what we've been taught by Europeans in relation to Egyptian history has to be checked. It has to be rechecked. It has to be verified, because a lot of the stuff that we've been taught is a lie. I'm sad to say a lot of the stuff that we've been taught about Egypt and Egyptian history is a lie, you see. Here we can see some of the various Heka signs. You can see, in a sense, from left to right. You can see at the top end, we see the Heka. Then we see the Hak sign, or Kash, Hash, Kush, later. See the villages. You can see, in a sense, on that right next to it, we see one of the various scarabs that were done by the various Hyksos king. Again, you see the Heka, And then under the Heka, in a sense, we see the sign for Cush. And then up under the sign for Cush, we see 3 slashes. So that makes it plural. So that's mean so he's not just saying he's the king of Cush, he's saying he's the king of the Cushites. That's why the three lines up under the symbol for Cush, that means N25 sign, that means in a sense that this is the plural. That means more than one, or that means in the sense the Cushite people, as opposed to just Cush. And so you can see how these various Heka Has signs were written, back in the day. Here we can see the term Cush. We can see the term Cush hieroglyph, and in this we see, in a sense, you can see the falcon, and you see the bar sign, and then we see in a sense the Cush sign. It's a Cush. It's pronounced Cush. You see, and then Nehesi was another name, and Nehesi was a name that they usually gave to the Cushites that lived in Lower Cush. Nehesi and Hush. But anciently, in a sense, the original name was not Cush. The original name was Hyksos. Not Cush, but Hyksos. Okay, here we can see the Winnie inscription. And the Winnie inscription is the long inscription on the right-hand side. And then on the left-hand side, we can see a picture. This is Abishari. He was the king. He's the king, and you can see in front of Abishari, we can see the Hekakasut. See the Hekakasut sign above it, above that animal. We see Hekahasut. We can see those same symbols. We see the plural, and then we can see the Heka sign. Very important. So as you can see, there was continuity. And we can see how these Hyksos kings, they were just proud, but they wanted to go back to being Cushites. I don't understand. I really don't understand why. They were having these civil wars, but it was this constant concept. Maybe one of you who've taken Egyptology, maybe you found maybe some text that really explained why there was this conflict between the Cushites and the Comedians, and why it was so important to make sure, in a sense, that people maintain their either their Cushite heritage or their Comedian heritage. I think this is an important question that needs further research. I'm not going to do it, so maybe one of you guys can do it. I'm a generalist. I like to stay with general things relating to history, but maybe one of you out there can really delve into why there was this confrontation between the Cushites and the Comedians, and why there was always the constant conflict. I mean, for example, they always say in a sense that like Seth was the god of the desert people, and yet we know many of the 18th dynasty kings that came from Temek, they worshiped Seth. And in fact, one of the pharaohs, his name was Seti I. So again, in a sense, Egyptian history is much more complicated. It's much more interesting, and it needs to be re-examined, because much of what we've been taught is not really actually what happened. Here again, we can see the Hekakasut Abishari, and here's the Habishari. Then you can see it. You can see his animal. Then you can see the name right over the animal's horns, which is Hekahasut. And then you can see it again on the Simkin scarab. Take a look at that for a minute. You can see Hekahasut, again, the king of the Cushites. Here we see Abishari had a beard. But when I showed you that picture earlier of Apophis, he didn't have a beard. So, Some brothers want to be clean shaven, others want to wear beards, just like today. I'm clean shaven. I wore a beard back when I was in my 30s. Yeah, I wore a beard when I was in my 30s. Today wearing beards is again popular. And you find a lot of brothers wearing beards today, even though most of us are clean shaven. The meaning of Hyksos has to be Cush, because why would Hyksos kings refer to themselves as foreign kings when they were native to the land they ruled? There are Egyptian texts where the Hyksos call themselves Hyksos, Cushite. The Egyptian textual evidence include the primary evidence of the Turin World Canon, where the Hyksos were styled Heka Hasut, the same name they called the other Cushites of Nubia during the Old Kingdom. During the New Kingdom, the Cushites were still being called Hash, the same name as the Hadeans called themselves, Kashkar. The first four rulers of the Hyksos called themselves Heka Hasut on their seals, and a monumental door jab from Avaris. This is primary contemporaneous ancient Egyptian literature that shows, in a sense, that the Hyksos and the rest of the Comedians in Upper Egypt were one people. The Hyksos worshipped Ra and Seth. They also continued to worship Near Eastern gods and the culture of the Cushites and Temek. The Hyksos ruled from 1650 to 1550. The New Kingdom lasted from 1549 to 1292. During the New Kingdom, Egyptians used the name Amu as a generic name for the Asians. The term Habiru was ethnonym for one of the Asian tribes. It is clear that if the Habiru and Heka Hasut were the same people, they would have had the same name, given the fact the New Kingdom began at the end of the Heka Hasut dynasty. Here's a meshwish, and you can see this meshwish. You can see that European heritage. Many of these people, by this time, by the time we see these the meshwish, what had happened is that Egypt had been invaded by the people of the sea. The Comedians defeated the people of the sea, and they deposited them in Palestine and in Libya, and that's how, in a sense, we begin to see this Caucasoid type among the Egyptians, but he's clearly identified as a Meshwesh or an Amu, as opposed to an Egyptian. But when we think about it, it was all type of people that lived in Asia back then. Here's some of the various, Asiatic people who were called Habiru as opposed to Amu. And you can see in a sense that so-called African and Negro character. They didn't necessarily have to all be dark, but you can see some of the facial features. And it was a lot of different groups, but these people, in a sense, would have been known as Asiatics, and these are some pictorial evidence of the various types of Asians back during that period. Here's some more Heka signs. You can see the Heka sign, and then we can see Hasut, Haks, and the Heka signs and the Haks signs. And these are some of the various Syriacs and other things from ancient from the Hyksos period. Heka Hasut Hyksos. Heka Hasut Hasuts Haks. So then you can see how Haks became Hyksos. When the Greeks took the term Haks for Cush, and then they began, in a sense, to refer to those people as the Hyksos. It's a lot of things about Egypt and Upper Egypt that needs much more clarification. Hyksos kings were proud of their Cushite origin, and the Hyksos seals the kings followed by the Heka Hasut, i.e. king of the Cushites. These seals are primary contemporary evidence that these people were called Hyksos. In summary, the meaning of Hyksos is Cushite, Cushite. And so then Cushite and Hyksos are the same terms, and they don't refer to foreign people. This is just Hyksos is just another name for Cush. Thank you. Here's in a sense, here again we can see Heka, and you can see here's some references that relate to the native origin, the fact that the Hyksos did not migrate into Lower Egypt. They didn't conquer Lower Egypt. They had always been there. And Hyksos was just another name for Cush. And this is how these people, rode. You can go to my Patreon to see the slides. All these slides will be in my Patreon. Join my Patreon. Become a member of my Patreon. Help support me. I know some people like to send me cash apps, maybe $20, $30, $40, $50. I accept all cash apps. That helps me to do my research. But when you become, in a sense, a Patreon member, that $5 a month, what that does in a sense is that provides me, because I have a number of Patreon followers, that provides me with the income to be able to do the research, to bring to you every week these important discoveries, to bring with you every week the latest findings related to African history. You see, as you can see, a lot of people are talking about the Hyksos based upon old research. My research is new research, and I'm able to do this new research because of the people who support me in my Patreon. Join my Patreon. You see, in my Patreon, I have I have videos. I also, in a sense, have guides that can show you how to study the videos, that in my collection. So joining my Patreon can offer you many opportunities to gain even further keen insight into the history of Black and African people all over the world. You're on my YouTube channel. Thank you for watching this live. Right now, before you leave, come on, press that like button. Come on, let's press that like button. That helps generate the the whole site. It makes it and lets people know that it's popular. Also, subscribe. You subscribe, hopefully they'll send you a notice whenever I'm doing a video. Eve told me that she doesn't ever get the information, but again, in a sense, is that that's just to let you know that by supporting me and joining my Patreon, then you're helping me a lot. So please join my Patreon. And check out my YouTube videos. I'm on Twitter at Dr. Clyde Winters 8. I post something at least maybe once a week, dealing with various aspects of African history. And you can order my books at Amazon.com. Please support my Patreon, and I also order my books. So books that can help you learn more about the Kushite history include The Kushites, Who, What, When, and Where. That's the only book. You're not going to find any other book. Make a search. You're not going to find any other book that explains who the Kushites were, where they came from. I'm still trying to find out what it meant. Dorvell has shown me considerable evidence that the word Kushite refers to leopards, lions, or felines. Get my book, The Nile Valley History and the Rig Veda. In this book, you'll find out all the information you need to know about the various Black groups, in a sense, and also the fact that the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, the Rig Veda, that these that many people have not been able to find, the various sites discussed in those Sanskrit books, in India. The reason they can't find the evidence in India is that we know, in a sense, that these books really relate to the Nile Valley and not to India. Also, you can get my book using Common Core standards, for Kushite history. It can give you more insight into Kushite history, and it can help you, in a sense, to learn more about the Kushites. If you want to learn more about African writing systems, get my books, African Origin, world writing systems. And this book, I show you how many writing systems and the varied writing systems that originated not only in North Africa, not only in the Nile Valley, but also the writing systems that they use in West Africa and East Africa too. Check out that book. Then my other book, Writing Decipherment of the Thinite Dispilio Tablet of Göbekli Tepe Pillars. Okay, I know you guys have heard about Göbekli Tepe in Turkey. A lot of people don't know that this was an Anu site. Yes, the Anu, the pygmy people who ruled the world from 10,000 BC down to around 5,000 BC. In this book, I talk about Thinite. In fact, many of the African writing systems are based on the Thinite script. I explain how to read it, how to interpret it. I even provide a short vocabulary. So if you want to find out more about the oldest inscriptions, which is the Dispilio tablet and the pillars that Göbekli Tepe, get my book. The Dawn of Writing. If you just want to have a general survey that deals with the African origin and world writing system, get my book. Buy these books. Buy my books, and you're going to find out everything and more than you ever thought relating to the history of Black and African people. If you want to find out more about pre-Egypt, get my book Before Egypt, the Moroccan Federation, Africa's First Civilization, and the Egyptian language. In the Egyptian language, the Mountains of the Moon, Niger-Congo speakers, and the origin of Egypt. In this book, Egyptian language, I explain and I prove that that metanetter or metanetra is, in a sense, an lingua franca, and that the metanetra is related to a language spoken in West Africa today. And that is, as a result of this relationship, we know that ancient Kemet was a Pan-African civilization, and that there were various people, in a sense, who lived in ancient Egypt, you see, and that these people, in a sense, were masterminds who created this lingua franca, which was used to allow all of the Egyptians, no matter what part of Egypt they came from, to be able to communicate in a single unified language. B1 is acknowledging your Black African ancestry, not heritage. We must be race men and women proud of our culture. It's very important that we remember, in a sense, that to be B1, you're Black. To be B1, you're brilliant. So you're B1, Black first. You're B1, brilliant first. You know. Okay. Thank you for your support. Okay, let's look at what's been going on in the chat. Okay. Why does mature men with the FBA still refer to each other as that N-word? Well, we refer to each other by the N-word. Is that it's just something that you grew up with. It's not, in a way, most people see it as a negative, and I know many people don't like it. But do you know that for 1,200 years, the kings of Scotland, they referred to their dynasty as the nigger kings? Yes, the nigger kings. Yes. The 1,200-year history of the kings in Scotland and Ireland, these kings, in a sense, referred to themselves as nigger kings. And because nigger was the Latin word for Black. So some people still use the term. Yeah, the Europeans made it derogatory. They made it derogatory because of the fact, in a sense, many of the Irish kings, the Black Irish kings, in a sense, referred to themselves like that. Okay, here's another thing. Keep us. I don't recognize the fairy tale Jew, the Fourth of July. Okay, you're right. I don't recognize it either, but it's a day off, and it's always been a day off. And so, hey, I want to, I've always taken it as a day off. Nefer Kanum said, it's no way the Hyksos could have been Asian because throughout their history they were aligned and married Nubians. The Egyptians turned on the Hyksos because Nubians and Hyksos wanted to conquer Egypt. Yes, they did. They wanted They wanted to make them. This is one of the things that's very important. They were constantly having this conflict because remember, the first nome of Kemet was Taseti, and Taseti was originally, in a sense, a Kushite kingdom. So they've always been this conflict between the Kushites and, in a sense, the Kemetians. The Kemetians prefer to be called Kemetians, the blacks, the coming true, whereas, in a sense, the Kushites, the Hyksos, they wanted to be Kushites. I really, maybe if some of you out there find a document that refers to this, Nefer Kamun Builder Society, if you guys have found a document that really discusses this, I'd really like to see it because I want to understand what this is all about, Okay, this is why the Hyksos had kings called Nehesi. Yeah, they had kings called Nehesi, but remember one of the leading kings of Egypt was called Nehesi also. But Nehesi was usually the term that they used to refer to the people that lived in Lower Kush. Okay, Anton, Hyksos were probably mixed. Some had to have been mixed with no, they weren't mixed. Why would they have to be mixed with Caucasian people? Caucasian people, I'm sorry, Anton, Caucasian people do not show up in the Middle East until the people of the sea, until the people of the sea invaded ancient Egypt. Before the people of the sea invaded ancient Egypt, there were no Caucasian people anywhere near Africa, you see. So no, Anton, the Hyksos were not mixed. They were not mixed with Caucasus people. The Caucasus people at that time were basically, in a sense, the people who lived in the Caucasus were basically Kushites. That's why the place names in the Caucasus are mainly Kush, Kushite in origin. No. The Hyksos were not mixed. Okay, Mr. Sharp, I doubt they were mixed at all. It sounds like their language is where the Arabs got their language from, especially what the doctor just said about the Kush region. Of course, Anti-Diop, Mr. Sharp, what he did is that he showed that at the base of most Semitic vocabulary terms, you find an African word. So it's very important, in a sense, that you understand this. That's why we have to always study the research of Anti-Diop. JP, you're absolutely correct. JP says, get those books. The research is amazing, and I learned so much from reading those books, and helps me with my own research as well. Thank you, Dr. Winters. Thank you, JP, for making those kind words about my research. Okay, Dorvell, the KG and C can take H attributes. Neher, meaning the mount, resembles Genesis 1:26, and Elohim said, "Let us make man in our image." What do you think about it, Dr. Winters? It could be that, Tro, but see, it's very, the Bible is complicated, and because in the Bible always talks about the Egyptians, and it talks about the Egyptians as an evil empire. It talks about the Egyptians as oppressing the Hebrews. This is what we read in the Bible, right? We always read this in the Bible, and yet when we study the actual history of the actual history and the actual history of Egypt, we find, in a sense, that the Hebrew kingdoms was always having good relationships with ancient Egypt. Not only were they having good relationships with ancient Egypt, the Hebrews, in a sense, often called on the Egyptians to help them to fight, in a sense, the Asians. This is especially true when we look at the Assyrian period. So then, therefore, when we read in the Bible that there was a conflict between the ancient Egyptians and, in a sense, the Hebrews, I don't know if that's really true, because the history in a sense doesn't show that this was true. Because in history we find a close relationship between the so-called Hebrew people and the Kemetians, who often, in a sense, came to support them. This is especially true during the period when the people of the sea invaded the Hebrew lands. They went and got the Egyptians to help them to fight the people of the sea. And we also know that during the 25th dynasty, the Cushite, the last Cushite dynasty, we know in a sense that it was the Egyptians who joined the Hebrews to try to fight the Assyrians, even though the Hebrews eventually lost. So this whole idea of a conflict, this whole idea of a conflict between Egypt and the Hebrews, according to the Bible, a lot of that has to be re-examined and really discussed. And in fact, let's look at the fact that according to the Bible, the Hebrews, when they left Egypt, was thousands of them. But see, those would have been what? Those thousands of people, they would have been Egyptians. So the Hebrews were Egyptians. It's complicated. The Bible is a complicated book, and I think it needs research. JP said the research in Bible don't match because the Bible is an allegory about metaphysics and what happens within our bodies. That in a way, that's true. But see, you had to remember in a sense is that the Bible is divided into several different books. Like the earliest book, Genesis, Corinthians, all that, those books are mainly history books. Then after the history books, we go into, in a sense, some of the ancient prophets. Then we go into the New Testament, and I only in a sense accept as totally maybe the Word of God. I only accept as the Word of God. Maybe some of the stuff that the prophets wrote. I don't accept I don't accept Genesis of I don't accept those books as being in a sense the Word of God history books. That's why you find conflicting statements in these early books in the Bible. Remember the Bible is made up of 66 books. It's not a unitary book, you see. So we do need, in a sense, a lot more research, Okay, and then Dorvell says the research of Roger Saba shows that Egyptians were the Jews. The Greek Ptolemy rewrote the Egyptian name into history because Egypt doesn't appear in the hieroglyphs. That's true. Egypt in a sense would have been. They called themselves the Comedians. It was the Greeks who translated the Black Land or Kemet into Egypt. So it's very interesting. So again, like I said, family, is that we've just taken for granted that everything the Europeans have written about African history, everything that the Europeans have written about, in a sense, even biblical history, a lot of the stuff they've written, it needs to be checked. It needs to be checked. It needs to be reinterpreted because, see, everything that they're telling us may not be the whole truth and nothing but the truth. It may need some more research. Mr. Sharp says Israel isn't a real place. It's a metaphor for the flesh, the spirit, and the soul. Dr. Winters, what do you think about the correspondence between the Bible and the Hermetica, the book of the forthcoming? I think, of course, it has many resemblances, and in fact, it's kind of deep. But again, who wrote the Bible? Where did the Bible come from? Remember, the Bible is a total of 66 different books, and they put these books together. And we know in a sense that they found a lot of various scrolls that were found in caves that relate back to this period. It's very interesting. I believe in many things written in the Bible. Like I believe in the book of Revelation. I believe in some of the books, some of the things that the prophets said, because they can correlate well with maybe aspects of history. But I think in a sense that a lot of it, in a sense, has to be really examined, and you can't take, especially the first books of the Bible, Leviticus, Genesis, all that. A lot of that, those are history books. Those history books. So I'm not going to, you can't really say that every book of the Bible is the word of God. But what I can say is that these things can offer us keen insight into maybe various aspects of this history that goes back there, again, in a sense, my introduction was made by Yoshimod. I hope that you guys will support Yoshimod. Yoshimod is a genius. Yoshimod has made some very beautiful videos. For example, Here's one of his videos that he's made, and these videos relate a lot to our history, and I really love his videos. I love the work that he does, and I'm gonna I want to kind of share this with you, and I want you guys to check this out.
And let the river flow. Let it flow. Let it drill. I hope you're near. Look me and here. And what I need is my legacy. Don't know what you did for me. And let the river flow, fall in the rain. And let the river flow. Nothing you can do is say can make the rain stop. Yeah, keep forming rain puddles with every drop, yeah. Thinking that you're getting away with it, but you're not, yeah. Soon as you think the ground's dry, that's when I fall in the rain. And let the river flow, caught in the rain. And let the river flow. I'ma let it flood, yeah, I'ma let it rain. Why should I spread love when all you do is spread pain? What I don't wanna do is lose you. Feel the first rain drop, I feel it too. Tidal wave, tsunami, the earth shakes from underneath. The water turns to blood, while people sleep. Ignore the pain and drown in your rain. Drip on me, waterfall in rain. I got you. Yeah.
Support Yoshi Mod. This brother makes some beautiful videos. These videos are so beautiful. You got to support this brother. He's the genius, and we don't call him the genius for nothing.
I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be follow. I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be follow. I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be follow. I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may die. What's the that you don't want me to say? I've been thinking I'm gonna listen to me. Sometimes I feel like the living I made. On my grandmother was in the maid. Left me behind and left me astray. What is the truth that was going on with me? Told me be cool and just have a nice day. Some things are just easy to say. Wish I could stop me from breathing a day. You know me, out in the ocean away from the bay. I've been drifting along far away. I went up in to keep them away. Say what you see, but I just cannot stay. Force me to lean and they want me to drink. Unfortunately, I never sorrow. So many follow, living in hollow, bringing the idol, listen to Carlo, living to borrow, living to borrow, living to call home, shooting a hollow, shooting a inferno. And now you're lost in the eye, all known, seeing that is a pyramid. I hate it, so make it, that is affirmative. I look at music biz, kept the hook to the ring. Too late to call it quits, that's what the mission is. We are the guinea pigs, music for feeling it, tired of the silliness. No longer feeling it, killing we're killing it, feeling like feeling it. Swimming this message off of the shore into the abyss. Deep in, I'm in ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be follow. I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be follow. I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be follow. I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. Super genie, what a fiend, take you to Feeny. How would they see me? Sleazy bikini, nothing but weenie. Wearing a beanie, feeling bikini. Changing the scenery, Show me your misery, so many lies of me. Probably got you on TV, believe me. Pulling your memories, killing the name. They never just admit that they got me. Machiavelli could have never been sloppy. We can see it's nothing but copies. Listen, cook up in that lobby. Billie Holiday just was a body. George Clinton committed them robberies. It seems he went for the lottery. This all falls in one category. We all call it a mystery. I'm the villain you all see. They glory to those who all see. Put a grass set up like Eddie Murphy. Your car crash, they just hating on me. Gotta make a comeback like Bill Cosby. With Brian playing conspiracy. Get me back for taking a knee. But they just be kidding me. Like in my turban, hit when I'm swerving. Black house cursing, sipping up a curving. More laceration, installation, no motivation. Straight elimination, your animation, alienation, annihilation. All for the taking, taking like taking. Omen faking, let's personation. Who is saving? Change like Raven. Say me David, had to shake him. Moving brave on how you craving. Even Jaden save him. Taylor paving. Who we faking? Mary make him misbehaving. We the brave before we drown in the water. Got a deep dive. I'm in the ocean and my baby hollow. And in any given time, my baby follow. I'm on the ocean and my baby hollow. And in any given time, my baby follow. I'm on the ocean and my baby hollow. And in any given time, my baby follow. Baby hollow. And in any given time, my baby there's always one who justify rain. Came from the cave, from the bay, created the slave. Step out of water, fiction is harder. Why do they bother? Go on my head, first like a daughter. Same boat, same fate, only in slaughter. Still throw jet bro, same as a father. Justify life, should it be harder? On my nation, these things water. See how they come, all as one. Force me to gun, force me to the slum. Live up the crumb, father's hung. Message beyond, live as one. Betraying the nuns, speak for the young. Nobody's dumb, maybe just someone they young. Maverick approach, truth by Yojo. And the kind will grow, just as the Ogo came off the old farm. E-I-E-I-O-E-O song. Turning the wheel until it's all gone. Gotta go deeper, dive with the people. Some turn lethal, neighbors is evil. Go from the right, give up the fight. No human right, kill them on sight. Many to spare, many beware. I see that I'm there, I see that I'm here. Ready with flash, calling all bad. Our genders are here, we the illusion, not disappear. As hard as my chin, deep dive. I'm a illusion and my baby hollow. At any given time. I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be follow. I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may be follow. I'm out the ocean and I may be hollow. At any given time, I may die again.
It's time to get rid of your old car. Hear me out. I use this site called pedal.com to sell my old car, and they gave me a pretty
support this book by JP. Support this book.
Visions of Yoshimo, ancient black spirituality, galactic celestial symphony, Cosmic, melanated energy, spirits are within me, our history. Ancient black spirituality, galactic celestial symphony. Cosmic, melanated energy, spirits are within me, our history. Yeah. The rose flaming Dravidian tide, symbols of power where the truth resides. Pelagian light, a beacon so pure, pineal gland open to unleash the cure. Ancient black spirituality, galactic celestial symphony. Cosmic, melanated energy, spirits are within me, our history. Ancient black spirituality, galactic celestial symphony. Cosmic, melanated energy, spirits are within me, our history. The rose flame, Dravidian tide, symbols of power where the truth resides. Pelagian light, a beacon so pure, pineal gland open to unleash the cure. Ancient black spirituality, galactic celestial symphony. Melanated energy, black spirituality. Ancient black spirituality, galactic celestial symphony. Melanated energy, black spirituality. Rose wisdom, Dravidian grace, symbols etched in every place. Pelagian's light, the guiding star telling us who we truly are. Let's read this book together. Let's read this book together. Metaphysical, physiological, spirits intertwined. It's logical. Let's read this book together. 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 Rose wisdom, Dravidian grace, symbols etched in every place. Pelagian's light, the guiding star telling us who we truly are. Let's read this book together. Let's read this book together. Metaphysical, physiological, spirits intertwined. It's logical. Let's read this book together. Let's read this book together. Let's read this book together. Let's read this book together.
Again, support this book. You can order it from Amazon.com. Support JP's book. It is beautiful. It is informative. I want to thank you guys for coming on. And I'm going to tell you, this brother, Dr. Doravale, thank you, Dr. Winters, for your work, willingness to share others' work, of course. And Doravale, I can't wait till you write your book on epistemology, because you really deal with in words. We need a book by you. We need a book by you, Doravale. Once you write that book, let me know. I'm going to publicize it to the T. I want to thank everybody for coming, and thank you for allowing me to visit you today. Thank you to communicate with you guys, and thank you for sharing in the chat some of your important work. But the most important thing we can do is that we had to remember, in a sense, that we had to support the people who speak up. Thank you for have a good day. Hope you guys include the barbecue. I'm going to get some barbecue chicken from my son's house. See you later.
If you're not going to speak up, you're the one. If you're not going to speak up, you're the one. If you're not going to speak up, you're the one. If you're not going to speak up, you're the one.
Thank you.